So, hello everybody, and welcome to Area X, to another edition of our X Night. My name is Thomas Zorbach, and I'm head of VM People, an agency that is specialized in new forms of storytelling, and we're based in Berlin.
Everybody, what we're going to do today is going to give you some insights into, let me just click on that. Yes, into the metaverse, and in this case, the metaverse, of course, of the year 2021. Because we can't empirically go into the future. So 1 year ago, Thomas, I'm not sure if you remember that, that was the first time I got in touch with VR and things like that. And the term metaverse actually was only known to very, very few, including Neil Stephenson, who has written about that one in 1992, I think. But since then, a lot of things have happened, and we have built the XRLab, Experimental Realities Lab at the University of Münster, and we're very happy to use this anniversary of this series to present some theoretical and empirical insights. I try to be not too academic today. If I do, just send some emojis, and I try to be more understandable in a way. So who are we? So I'm not going to give this presentation on my own, because we're a team at the University of Münster at the XRLab. And here, standing and waiting to get on stage and take over the megaphone are Nilusha Aliman and Alina Herter, who are doing this with me. And there are some others here also who are part of the XRLab. Because this is who we are. You see, we have avatars, and we have real faces, and we even have faces behind devices here. Some of our members are shown here. So what do we do at the XRLab? The goal is that we explore the powers of virtual and augmented reality, because we believe it's going to be an exciting thing. However, we are not evangelists. So we are interested, we're curious, we're excited, but we try to apply scientific approaches. So that means to really learn what works in the metaverse and what maybe doesn't work so much. So we really try to understand the logic and the rules of the metaverse. At the core of everything we do at the XRLab are social interactions across basically all parts of life, because we love social interactions, and probably most of you also do that. If you combine social interactions with virtual reality, that's where the big momentum, where the big buzz is these days. It's in the metaverse, as you all know, and I will come up with a formal definition of how we, Münster University, how we define the metaverse. But let me just show some evidence of the momentum. So the metaverse is a big deal, a very big deal. It's worth a lot of money. Mark Zuckerberg even decided it's so much money worth that he's going to basically change the ID of his company from a social media company to a metaverse company. And Microsoft actually is also into that big business, or seeing big business opportunities here. However, not everybody is as excited. It's a kind of polarization that we notice in the media. So here are just two headlines I'm showing you here. Hey, Facebook, I made a metaverse 27 years ago. So that was a nice headline, and also why the metaverse is dead on arrival. So we will see if this thing is dead on arrival or not. So the idea behind this research is marketing scholars, and we believe that everything that provides value to users is not on arrival. Everything that provides value to users has a actual business opportunity in front of it, and we will see if there is value in the metaverse of 2021. So what we do now, I'm going to give you a little theory, a quick theory of how value is created or can be created in the metaverse, and then we will so that is nice having you. And so the starting point of our analysis here is that we argue that the metaverse is a new computer-mediated environment. So we say it's a CME. We go back, so the idea of the CME goes back to the first days of stationary internet, where two marketing scholars, Donna Hoffman and Tom Novak, wrote an article, very influential article, where they defined CMEs as distributed networks with associated hardware and software. At that time, there was only one CME, computer-mediated environment, which was the stationary internet. At that time, they didn't call it stationary, it was just the internet. Environment, which was the stationary internet. At that time, they didn't call it stationary, it was just the internet. And since then, as you know, you have your mobile devices. Everybody has their mobile devices. We have a new computer-mediated environment. That's the mobile internet. And yeah, and now we argue that the metaverse is the third of these computer-mediated environments. We don't agree with Mark Zuckerberg, who says it's going to be the successor of the mobile internet, as we have not experienced that the mobile internet has completely basically remove the stationary internet. But it's going to be added to that. So that's the idea. And that brings us to our definition of the metaverse. So we argue that metaverse is a computer-mediated environment in which people act and communicate with each other in a multisensory way and in real time via avatars and virtual worlds. So actually what we are doing here is exactly that. We communicate. You can't communicate with me at this point because you're muted, unfortunately, but I can communicate with you, and you hear me, you see me. Fortunately, you can't. Maybe fortunately, you cannot touch me at that moment. Yes, at least it's two senses that are combined, and we are having these avatars. I actually look a little different. I have the same hoodie at home, however. I'm still a little older than this face appears to be, and we're doing this in virtual worlds. In what parts and what contexts of life do we have social interactions? So we distinguish, but basically in every context, and we distinguish between three contexts. First one is work. So we interact with our bosses, those who work with us, our partners. We do that. We have a lot of interactions in the consumption context. We go shopping with others. We go to the movies, do things like that. And then we also have what we call social interactions at the front line. That's a service marketing term between employees and customers where they need to interact. And each of the social of the computer-mediated environments has distinct kinds of tools, distinct types of software or apps which we use to do these, to carry out these social interactions. So on the 2D internet, or Microsoft Teams, when we consume, we use, so with friends, we spend time with friends. We use things like watch together. So that's the one in the middle here. Or we chat via Discord, or also meet via Zoom. And then there are some applications, as you know, where customer service is carried out via Skype, via Zoom, or via Teams, and even some companies are using for sales transactions. In the virtual reality metaverse, as we call, we have different apps. We have different places where the social interactions take place. Like in work, for work, we use apps like Glue, like Raum, like Engage. Where do we engage in joint consumption? Do that, we go to the movies together, a big screen. We spend time hanging out at VR chat, or of course, like in this place. Most of you are here hopefully for fun. And then afterwards, go to the Star Wars website or whatever website to explore art space. And then we have specific apps here for the interaction between employees and customers, again, like Glue. Also, that can happen in Altspace, that can happen in Engage and other places. So this is the background. What we propose is that the metaverse adds some kind of value compared to doing social interactions with teams, with friends, with others in the 2D internet environment. And we argue that the VR metaverse has some kind of influences, some kind of outcomes. And when it comes to outcomes, what do we mean with outcomes? We say groups will be more like groups of employees. We'll be creating whatever better, more creative solutions. They will be more productive. They will interact more. Or the evaluation of the service that is provided might be better. Of when you go to the movies, you actually like it more when you go together with a friend. So in the VR metaverse environment, and might even experience better, more positive emotions here. So this is the basic idea. We argue this happens through what we call intermediate states. So we argue this is those people who are part of the teams, who are part of the groups who are engaging in the social interactions, who are going shopping, going to the movies, or doing work sessions together. They are experiencing different states in the when they do this in the VR metaverse versus when they do that via Zoom or some other app in the 2D internet. So the idea here is that co-presence will be higher, nonverbal overload will be lower, and we'll talk about exhaustion in a moment. The idea is regarding co-presence that let me just ask Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, can you explain what we mean with that? Yes, so he's sending this statement. So he argues that when you meet in the VR metaverse, then you feel more present with other people than you would do on the 2D internet. And he also argues that this has a positive impact on the outcomes. So you have different, probably what he means is better experiences that you couldn't have when you use a 2D app or a web page. So higher co-presence that we experience, which is then positive for the outcomes. That's at least the argument. The second one is we argue that there is less Zoom fatigue. So Zoom fatigue is a concept that has been introduced as a result probably of all the hours of of the endless meetings we had all via Zoom, or Skype, or web, or Teams, or whatever software, 2D software you're using, and that we are all used to. And yes, and the theoretical idea behind Zoom fatigue is there is too much what's called nonverbal overload. We are overloaded by all the things we have to look at the same time while we don't move. We can't move. There's just a 2D phase. Everybody looks the same. That's too hard for us to process. And so, and this goes back to Jeremy Bailson from Stanford, who basically then argues Zoom fatigue exists and is a problem, but VR might be the solution for that because there is no Zoom fatigue in this context of the VR metaverse. And finally, while those things are, we argue those things are positive, so more co-presence, less Zoom fatigue. What some of you might have experienced is that it's sometimes tiring, exhausting, demanding to meet in the VR metaverse. And so we expect that there will be higher exhaustion as a result of meeting in the metaverse versus on the 2D internet. So this is just a Reddit user who said like, hey, I'm just using it, the VR device for 2 hours and I really feel tired. I passed out right after. Even the next morning, I still feel groggy. And so this would then be a negative thing. And we wonder if that kind of crowds out, counters positive effects that we have through higher co-presence and less Zoom fatigue. Yes, and so these are just arguments. These are just propositions that we do. And now we have, that's lucky, so we have Nilusha who will take over and basically tell us, we tested that, and Nilusha is going to tell us how we did this. I'm going to step aside and yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. So I would like, hey, can everybody hear me? Perfect. Okay. So I would like to, after we have learned a lot of what our theory is behind our research and what the concept is, I would like to take you to the more fun part of doing research. So this is the measuring part. How do we actually measure in the metaverse, at least as of 2021? So what we did is we conducted a series of experiments, and I would just like to give you an overview about what we did and how we did it, and yeah, who was part of all that. First of all, 3 students of the business students of University of Münster, and what we did was take those 300 students and put them into groups. We randomly assigned all of those students into group 2 to 4 people, and we were, thank you, and so that we had around 100 groups at the end. And what we then did was to take all of those groups and again randomly just assign them to 3 conditions. Now you might be a little bit confused of these number 3 conditions because right until now you just heard about those 2. You heard about the 2D internet, for example, Skype and Zoom. And you heard about the VR metaverse, where we are just right now accessing it via our classes. We also did is we assigned a third of this group to a third condition, which we named non-VR metaverse. Now that condition is not that important for you. It's not relevant for this research or this presentation, but we don't want to keep it from you. So the non-VR metaverse was a condition where students were able to access the metaverse, but not via VR classes, but via the desktop or remote application. So to move forward, what did we ask them to do? Actually, we just asked them to do some different tasks in the course of 4 months, like more or less 4 months. And they had always to do like some tasks with the groups and the group mates. And after each task, we asked them to participate at a survey. So if you're wondering how we managed to get 300 students to help us to be part of our experiments, we gave them credits for that. So as part of their innovation lecture, we're able to participate at those tasks and then get credits for that. And just for you as information, the course has nothing to do with VR, XR, or other extended realities, so they were not at all biased. Okay, so now let's move to what we did exactly. So we had a series of 5+1 experiments. Don't panic, I will just talk later about them. We started with our 2 first experiments in the work context. As ProfTHT just told you, it's the context where employees come together to interact. So we have 2 basic situations. One of the first task was about getting together with other employees or with other colleagues and being creative. For that, they had the task of designing a new ice cream, like being creative and designing it. second task was a little bit more productive, where they have to screen a new product idea, and they also just had a limited time for that. So both experiments took place in the VR metaverse in Glue, you might all know, and yeah, the traditional 2D internet platform. For our third experiment, we looked at the consumption context. Customers come together and interact. So we wanted to build like a situation that we all of us know, which is just a jointly consumed film, so our movies. So we asked them to watch movies in their group and just basically enjoy it. This task was done in the our app big screen, and also for the 2D internet condition, the group condition via watch together. For our fourth and fifth experiment in the frontline context where customers and employees interact, we wanted to have like two typical frontline activities, which all of you know, services and sales. So for the service context of service experiment, we at all of the students take place or be at a short feedback session, educational feedback session. They got to interact with the service person, and they got to bring forward some feedback they had about their sources of study. And for the sales experiment, we had a salesperson there, actually and literally selling tickets for a movie. So they got to choose between, as you can see on this picture, between two films or movies that they prefer, like one of them that they preferred or liked more. And then they got to give like a willingness to pay, how much they will be willing to pay for this ticket. So now you might be wondering, what is our +1? Our +1 experiment is experiment 0. Experiment 0 is our onboarding experiment. So our experiment 0 was our onboarding experiment, since we wanted to especially get the students in the VR metaverse condition to feel comfortable with the technology and to get used to it. So the first or the experiment 0 were for with the task to just get to know the group mates and come up with a group name and a group logo. Okay, so what did we do after that? Like after we got all our experiments together? For that, I will give the stage to Alina.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me well? Great. So let me just find the spot. So before I'll show you our specific results, let me just say some words on the method we used. Thank you. So for our model to address all of our different outcome variables as well as our different intermediate states, we simultaneously estimated all of our model path with structural equation modeling using partial least squares, and additionally to account for some potential bias, we also included control variables, like, for example, demographic variables of the participants, like the age or the gender, but also controls which address the specific situation during the experiments, like internet connection of participants. So, but let's now take a look at the results. So here we will at first focus on the total effects, and thus on the total effect that the VR metaverse compared to the 2D internet exerts on our different outcome variables. And before I show you the result of the total effect, just a short recap, because in total, we have 14 different outcome variables, and we have 5 experiments. But since not all of those outcome variables are relevant in each experiment, we have a total of 28 relevant outcome constellations across the different experiments, across the 5 experiments. So now let's have a look at the total effect, and what we can see here. Thank you. What we can see here, that from this relevant 28 constellations, we found that in 18% of constellations, the VR metaverse has a positive and a significant effect on our outcome variables at a 10% level. So Here, this shows us that the VR metaverse outperforms the 2D internet in just 18% of our constellations. But does this mean that the VR metaverse does not add so much value to social interactions compared to the 2D internet? Well, not exactly, because now we will have a more detailed and a more fine-grained look on our full model. Here you can see again our full model, where we also incorporated our intermediate states, the states of co-presence, nonverbal overload, and exhaustion. And when we now have a look at the first intermediate state, the state of co-presence, we can see that we can see strong and significant effects here. And what is really interesting is that the VR metaverse leads to significantly higher levels of co-presence in 100% of our constellations, and thus in all of our experiments. What we can also see here is that the effect stemming from co-presence on our outcome variables is also significant and positive at 71% of constellations, and thereby it's mainly affecting our evaluation and our emotion outcome variables. When we will turn to the next insight on verbal overload, the intermediate state of nonverbal overload, then we at first proposed also a positive influence of the VR metaverse in a way that it decreases the non-verbal overload of participants. And we can see here that this effect is significant in 40% of our constellations. Additionally, when we look at the effect of nonverbal overload on our outcome variables, then we rather see mixed results. However, still 70% of our constellations are significantly affected by non-verbal overload. And now let's check out our last intermediate state, the state of exhaustion, because there we have some interesting findings too. As you can see here, the VR metaverse leads to significantly higher levels of exhaustion with in 80% of our constellations. So this means that people who are or participants from the VR metaverse who used the VR metaverse condition in our experiments felt more exhausted than those who used the 2D internet in 80% of our constellations. And when we look at the right side of our model, then we propose a negative relationship between exhaustion and our outcome variables. And we can see here that in 31% of constellations, exhaustion negatively affects and significantly negatively affects our outcome variables and has most of its effects again on our emotion variables. But what does this all mean, and what is there still to learn about the metaverse? Therefore, I will return the stage to Professor THT. However, here's a little spoiler, there's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot to learn. Thank you. So what does it all mean? So Alina said, and we're still trying to figure that out. So the key insights, what we have learned is, first thing, so when we look at the total effects, there's hardly any systematic different outcomes. So it's not that you can just basically move everything to the metaverse in terms of corporations, collaborations, and all that, and you will be happy and rich. So it's not going to work that way. The second thing is what we see, Mark Zuckerberg is right. There is certainly a higher level of co-presence, and the co-presence also is a good thing because it has a positive impact on the states we are looking for. So positive evaluations, emotions, and also some more positive performance figures. We also find that, like our colleague Bailenson argues, that VR actually has the potential to reduce Zoom fatigue. However, we are not sure if this is really a great thing because the effect of Zoom fatigue on the outcomes that we've measured is relatively decent and sporadic in some way. And then you've seen all the nasty red boxes there, and the nasty red boxes are of course not good for VR. They mean that these things that we're all wearing, I'm wearing today, and you're all wearing today, they kind of kind of troublesome. So because they lead to higher levels of exhaustion, and this exhaustion also has a negative impact and kind of reduces at least and compensates and counters all the positive effects that we have gained through higher levels of co-presence and less overload. And finally, one thing we have not mentioned, so Alina has saved that for me, is that exhaustion can only partly explain the negative responses that we receive to VR. So obviously there are some other things going on. I heard some people talking and saying that, I don't like to lose control. I just let me see through this thing, etc. Maybe these are relevant things. So when it comes to what we still have to learn, there's a lot, and I just have basically reduced myself and ourselves to a few points. So we need to understand the differences between the contexts. So we had work studies, we had consumption studies, we had frontline studies. We have not carefully analyzed differences, and with this data we have collected so far, we can't do that. Also, we don't know about the role of avatars. And we wonder, when my son put this on, he's 23, when he put this on and he saw all those figures, all those avatars, he was kind of disappointed because he expected some super realistic, basically replications of humans. So, and that's not, I don't look this way. So sorry for saying that. Maybe that has an effect. And also, there might be, in these avatars, in these contexts, might be some what we call moderating forces. They might moderate the effect of doing social interactions in VR. Also, we have some early findings that demographics in terms of gender make a difference, that group size might make a difference, and also maybe the meeting lengths might make a difference. We find some indication that that co-presence to have an effect needs a longer time, and exhaustion, of course, needs also comes into play when the meetings are longer. And finally, also, we believe that there are additional intermediate states. That is because what I've just said, there might be other, and there are certainly other factors that are important. We need to understand that also kind of mediate the effects of doing work, doing fun, having fun in the metaverse versus doing it in a 2D internet environment. Yeah, that's basically it. I think you can come on stage, and I thank you very much for sitting and standing through this, and also even surviving the technical hiccups we had. I apologize for that. Thank you very much. Thank you from Münster.
Okay,
thank you very much.
We do have a question from the guy in green right up front here. Is it
guy
Column?
in green.
I'll just put you on air now. You can correct me on how I said your name.
So Column
should be able to hear you now.
Yeah.
Hi, yeah, you got it right.
Oh, cool.
Come on stage. Come on stage.
Right. I was wondering about the non-VR metaverse condition, particularly because I'm currently using this in 2D in the app, right, on the desktop. I'm wondering if there's less exhaustion there, but still benefits of co-presence, or just roughly what was going on.
So basically, what Colin is asking, is there less exhaustion? Yes, and that's what we find, but it comes at a price. It comes at a price, and the price is that you avoid the negative, but you also avoid the positive. So that's, at this point, this is our tentative result there. Yeah, but we have to look deeper. We have to dig deeper into this. But at this point, in the situations we're analyzing, the results were worst in most of the cases for the 2D, what we call the 2D metaverse condition, or the remote or non-VR metaverse condition. So like non-VR metaverse condition. Yeah, that's Column. Does that answer your question? This as a yes.
Muted. Yes, he's still muted. You can see a nod if you move your mouse up and down, because we're both in desktop mode. So that's how you nod right now.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for that question. We've got another question, and let me just hand over the megaphone to BR. BR, where are you, BR? Just giving you the megaphone now. So you should be able to speak.
Where is?
Yeah.
For a BR.
Can you hear me now?
Where is
Can you
BR?
hear
me?
Can you raise your hand?
There we go. I see him at the back, top right, middle.
Okay, hi BR.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a question. How does this platform impact the neurodiverse community? Have you done any research? Because we feel that the learning as well as the social interaction can improve for this community. Do you have any data or any feedback on this, or any thing which you have done research on this area?
I can tell you. So let me say something about the memory results, because
Memory vividness.
one of the is that and memory vividness. Or do you want to do that, Alina? Nilusha, do you want to take over? Okay. So basically, what we've done, we have also taken a look at memory effects. So we looked at how strongly. Oh, now he has disappeared, I think. Anyway, I still answer this one. So what we have done then is we have also asked questions regarding how strongly people remember, because there were always 2 weeks between every experiment, and so what we expected. Just get a text message whether we want to talk. So I was distracted. Sorry for that. So we didn't find any results. So we didn't find any stronger memory. We also had a kind of objective memory measure at the end of this. So we expected, okay, will people remember the details better? Will the memory be more vivid in this case? And we didn't find that. So again, this is very tentative. This is very early. That was not the core of the studies, but we were surprised to see that, because this is something we expected. Does that answer your question? Okay. We have more questions.
Yeah, apologies.
Thank you.
I was trying to sort out some issues there. Thank you for the question as well. Thank you. Let's have a look. The question. So we do have another question here from Paul Simon. I'm just going to give you the megaphone now, Paul. So
Paul Simon is here. Paul Simon. So
yes.
Can we do one
Paul
thing?
Simon
So Paul
here.
Simon, if you're the real Paul Simon, so the suggestion would be, let's sing Sound of Silence or Bridge Over Troubled Water together,
Yeah,
instead of having a question about number crunches. No, okay. Sorry for the cheap joke. Just go ahead.
It's all right, Prof. I confused my way to Graceland and found myself here. No worries.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine is to propose your title, Making Sense of the Metaverse. Empirical insights on how social virtual reality can create value. And I'm a beneficiary of that. I was probably the first African on the VR, calling you from Nairobi, Kenya. And I have interacted with many people across the world on Zoom. But let me tell you, nobody will even, Zoom starts, Zoom close. There are no post outreach value when you do a Zoom meeting. It's just like watching a YouTube video on computer.
Yeah.
The VR, once you're done with this kind of a meeting, you have someone come up to me. Oh, I heard that you're in Kenya. What's going on there? And guess what? I've even started having projects with people who I never knew before. VR. Actually, the Oculus Quest 2 that I'm using now was a gift from someone I met in ArtSpace, from Nico, who hosts Q&A about death on Tuesdays. So there is so much value in interacting this way. You may think it's just avatars, but that avatar represents you. You took time to create that avatar. You didn't just pop in and randomize. I think people hardly do that. You picked up the outfit, Miss Nilusha. You picked up the outfit. You picked the pink outfit. You put a white belt on you because you feel that it represents you. Just like every day when you step out for the day, you pick up a wardrobe. and you end up looking the way that you represent yourself. So for me, it was not a question, but it was just a comment that to propose the title there, that virtual reality creates more value than any other form of interaction we've had so far, especially during this time of COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Very thoughtful and very nice comment. And we completely agree. That there's a lot of value beyond actually the variables that we studied. At this time, what we try to do here is really look at very clearly defined meetings where really people have an interactions. They go to the movies together, or they do work together. So which is and what you are saying is a bigger, more broad, more societal effect. And personally, I completely agree. At the XRLab, we're always looking for exciting topics, and that is certainly that's really deserving more attention. Thank you very much. Very smart comment. Very good. Comment.
Great comment, and I couldn't agree more as well. It's kind of the organic communication we're talking about that we get in here, that sort of after the event when people come up to you and you sort of organically meet new people, which just doesn't happen in Zoom with breakout rooms. Can't really be achieved in the same way. Okay, let's look. If we have any more questions, I don't have any more questions, but if anyone does, feel free to raise your hand.
Otherwise, just let me say we will be here and probably until the batteries really run out. So we will be here, and just come on stage or come. We will just hang out here, and if you have questions, please approach us or comments now. And that. Yeah,
I don't think. Do we have the stage blocker on right now? Let me check.
I don't know.
So yeah, feel free to come up on stage. I can see if we struggle with people getting on stage, then there's still a place.
Can I still say thank you very much, everybody, for spending the evening here. That was premiere for us too, and I really thank you. And there was a lot of academic wordings here, and you survived that. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and of course, thank you to you, Thorsten, and to your great team, to Nilusha and Alina, for sharing your thoughts. And yeah, as you said, I still remember I met you for the first time a year ago, and you were so enthusiastic, and you're so passionate about VR. And if I might say so, you are among the leaders in Germany now, sharing the first results of your research. Did I get that right? Did I put you under pressure in
definitely. But
sorry for that.
But you know, the pressure thing is really, this inverted U-shape thing. So when you have no pressure, you're not doing any work. If you have too much pressure, it's breaking you. But the Thomas level, the Thomas Sorbach level, that was exactly where we got to the peak. That was fine. That was very good. Very well dosed. Yeah.
Okay. So
right. Thank you.
If you want to share some more insights a year from now, please accept my invitation. And I guess all agree in the audience will be interesting to hear your results from 1 year from now. So thanks very much again, and hopefully see you in 12 months.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Everyone is unmuted and can speak now. So feel free to come up if you have any questions for the team.
Hello.